Hi folks, this is Karim Raouf from IT Visualizer channel. We will continue our lab, the Terminator lab. This is the video number 35. We have been discussing in the previous video the following. I've been working now for 13 videos to prepare our MDT or Microsoft Deployment Toolkit environment to install automatically a Windows 10 operating system image with all of its programs on a large number of PCs at once. So the main focus or the main objective is to install automatically Windows 10 image that contains all of the necessary programs for all of the common programs that are needed by all of the departments on a large number of PCs at once. This is the main focus, or this is the main objective. And then after that, there is another process. We need to automate the installation of some software on also a large number of PCs according to every department needs. So for example, we need to install Office Excel program on all of the accounting PCs, or for example, we need to install Word file on all of the secretary teams or something like that. So we were preparing our MDT environment to do that. Okay, so to do that, we need to this is divided into two processes. The capture process, we need to install the Windows operating system, then install the common programs, and then take or make sysprep, then take an image, and then in the second process we need to deploy this image to a large number of PCs automatically. And during the deployment you can optionally install additional programs for different departments. So we were preparing ourselves during the last 13 videos to do that. So we have prepared our capture process and we have prepared our deployment process. What we have done, if you see this graph here, this is the deployment, or this is where we have our deployment tool. It contains the Windows ISO images that will be installed during the capture process, and then this is the software installation source programs. So this also was imported to the MDT. These are the common programs that will be installed during the capture process, and also these are the programs or the additional programs that will be installed during the deployment process. So we have a deployment share and the capture share. Both contains some imported software and some imported operating systems. So what we will need to do today? Today we need to make a task. The task, this is the plan that the MDT will follow to complete the capture process or the deployment process. So we need to make two types of tasks. This is called the task. A task, we need to create a capture task and a deployment task. We can illustrate that through a graph. If you can see here, for example, this we will instruct the MDT to install the Windows 10 LTSC and then install all of these programs silently. So this will be done, okay, through the MDT. And then what we will do, we will make a sysprep, then capture an image, okay, and save it to the capture share folder. Okay, this will be done using or through a capture task. So steps, the capture task, what the capture task will do, it will install the Windows 10 and these programs, and then it will make a sysprep, and then it will capture an image and it will save it to the capture share folder. Then we have an image that we can deploy in the second phase. So this is in this process called capture workstation master image process. So this, we will take this image and then we need to go to the deployment process. This is the deployment process. We will this is the PC that doesn't contain any operating system. It will boot and then it will go to the deployment share. We will copy the image that we have captured before and then put it in the deployment share folder, and they will create a task called deploy Windows 10 image. It will deploy the image. So this is basically what we will do today. Today we will create the capture process. We'll begin working with the capture process. We will have a Windows 10 capture process and a Windows Server capture process. And the upcoming videos we will work with deployment of Windows 10 and deployment of Windows Server. So this is basically what we will do. the couple of videos before, we were preparing the environment. We were importing, if we can see for the zero touch installation, we are preparing or we are importing the Windows ISO images to the MDT tool and the software source installation files. We have done this in the previous videos. So let's begin today to illustrate how we can create a capture process. What are the phases of the capture process? What are the steps in the capture process, or what is the capture task process? Okay, what are the steps in this capture task process? What are they? We need to explain it in details. We will use uh, Google Bard AI explanation and Claude 2. This is a new tool, a very fantastic tool to explain also this capture task sequence process, and also my illustration will be included. So let's go and continue working with our lab. And by the way, we are following the process of Daniel Brother Barbarius. This is the steps text file that contains the steps for making our MDT environment. We have stopped at the capture task process. Here, these are the steps. We need to create two task steps or task sequence, one for the Windows 10, one for the Windows 11, and one for the Windows Server. I will not do the Windows 11 task process because I am having a little bit of a limited hardware. Windows 11 will not run properly. So this is the steps. We will work with these steps, and actually Daniel have give us also something, or we have two. Let me show. We have a couple of text files that will illustrate these capture tasks, what we need to do, what are the configuration of these tasks. So let me show you all these tasks. This is the Windows 10 capture task, and this is let me go and open another thing, and this is the Windows Server capture task. Okay, so these are the tasks in specific, or as we can see here, he's illustrated it very professionally and very detailed process. We will go and see each line of these tasks. What does it mean? What it will do? Okay, what is the pre-install step? What is the state restore step? What is the post installation process, or what is the post install step? We will see that one by one. So let's begin. We need to begin our capture task sequence. We will create a client. The first thing we need to do to create a client capture task sequence. So let's go and open our video and begin our scenario. So here I am opening the text files that contains the steps. Here you need to see that I am just flagging, or here what I am doing, I am just putting some flags or something to know where I have stopped. So these are a flag. These are a couple of dashes, so I know that I have stopped here. Okay. So where I have, or where I need to stop now, or where I need to begin, I need to begin at this uh, this line. Okay, so I've stopped here. So I need to remove the other line. This I have been, or I have stopped here before, but now I need to update it and make sure that I am flagging the right step. So I am here. Actually, I stopped here. Okay, so this is the right flag. Okay, so here we will begin configuring the first client capture task. Okay, we will see here that Daniel have give us the two processes, the capture task. So this is the capture task, and this is the deploy task. Okay, so we will use them to configure the capture tasks and the deployed tasks. Okay, so here I have already clicked on the wrong text files. We need to work with the capture client task first, not the deploy. Okay, so now we need to go and open the virtual box and open the primary domain controller and the MDT server. Okay, so these are the deploy tasks. We will not configure them today. We will configure them in the upcoming video, or the upcoming videos with God will. So he will open the Oracle VM VirtualBox. So we can see there is a lot of preparing before beginning the deployment or before beginning the installation of the Windows 10 image, okay, or the deploying of Windows 10 images. This will take a lot, some large preparations, but at the end, if you prepare it correctly, the operation of the deployment will run smoothly, okay, so or smoothly, okay. You need to take care of that, okay. So now we are opening our primary domain controller, which is very, very critical because most of the PCs uh, we will put in the deployment task, we need to join them to the domain. So we need to have a primary domain controller in place, and uh, most of them actually also will have we need to have the DHCP, okay, or the other server, it's a DHCP because the process will not complete unless there is a DHCP, or the deployment process will not work unless there is a DHCP. So we have this server as a DHCP and a file server and an MDT server and the WDS server, okay, and actually a WSOS as well. So this is a very, very critical server. We need to make sure that all of these roles are running by checking the services that are running these roles, okay. So we need to make sure the HCP service is running, we need to make sure WSOS service is running, we need to make sure that MDT monitoring service is running. All of this we can check it, or we can create a task, or we can make a scheduled task in Windows to make sure these services are up and running. We have done this before in previous videos, okay, to create a PowerShell script that make sure that the important services on this server is running, okay. So what you are doing now, here we are logging into the MDT server using my domain admin account. So here now I will open the correct text files. We will open the capture Windows 10 and the capture of Windows Server. Actually, I replaced the capture of Windows 11 by another task to capture Windows 10 LTSC operating system, okay. We have two kind of Windows, the normal Windows edition and the LTSC Windows edition. We will install both operating systems, and we will capture uh, both operating systems, okay, with the common programs that we have listed before, the PowerShell, CMTrace, Edge, all of these common programs used by all of the departments, okay. So now I'm opening the services of the Windows to make sure that all of the important services are running. Actually, when I checked the service console, I found most of the services are not running, but you need to give it some time because it will automatically, or is something called automatic delayed start. It will take a couple of or a couple of minutes to start, and if it doesn't start, we have a script already in the Windows task scheduler to make sure these tasks or these services are running, okay. Say for example, we can see here that the SQL server is not running, uh, the Windows internal database for the WSOS is not running, so it will take some time. Now we need to open our main console. Sorry. So we need to open our main console and see if we can create the client task. So we need to create the first task, the capture client task. As we can see here, we are working in the capture folder or in the capture process. So we need to create two task sequence. Before that, we need to create two folders just to make it organized. So we'll create a folder called capture client and another folder called capture server, and then we'll create the task in the capture client folder, and then we'll create the capture server task sequence in the capture server folder. So it will take some time. Here we can see we will create a folder called capture client. Okay, then next I will copy it and then change it, so we'll have another folder. Next, 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 and finish. And then we will create another folder. We name it capture server. Then next, next, then finish. And then here I forgot something. I need to import the Windows 10 Enterprise LTSC operating system. I forgot to do that. So I will do that later, but here now we'll begin creating the first task. This is the first task, Win 10 Pro x64-bit. This will be the sequence, or this will be the task sequence ID. This is something to be unique for every task. So every task will have two things: the name of the task and the ID of the task. The ID, it is something to uh, 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 specialize it, or so we can know the task. This is something like the personal ID. Okay, the sequence task ID is used internally as a part of the deployment process. Okay, the task sequence name and comments are displayed by the deployment wizard. So the sequence ID is internally used as a part of the deployment process. These two differentiate between different tasks. So maybe you have the same task sequence name, but the task sequence ID should be unique. I think also he will not accept to have different or to have a task sequence with the same name. Anyway, I think task sequence ID is referred to, or like a unique identifier for the task. Anyway, so you can see this is Windows 10 Pro 64-bit. We can see that Daniel Brother Barbarius has given us the task sequence name and the task sequence ID, sorry, and then this is the task sequence ID and this is the task sequence name. Okay, so we'll copy it, Control V, and then next. And then we'll go to the next, tell him next. Here we will have something called select templates, which are pre-defined or pre-configured tasks or steps. So for example, you can select an action or pre-configured action to for example, to capture a Windows 10 image. There will be here a template called sysprep and capture process, or sysprep and capture task sequence. This is a pre-configured task. It will do as it implies from its name. It will do a sysprep and a capture process of the Windows 10 operating system and programs. Okay, so these are predefined and pre-configured tasks, so you can use it to work with different scenarios. Okay, so for example, here we will check standard, or will select standard client task sequence. This is a generic task. You can specialize it, or you can configure it to be a deployment task or a capture task. Okay, so this is a generic task related to clients, to not to servers. Okay, so this is a standard task. We will configure it to our needs. But if you need to have a specialized task or a certain task, you can do this from the MDT. MDT, you will find sysprep and capture task. You will find a post OS deployment task. You will find light touch deployment. So we'll find a lot of tasks that will suit your needs. Anyway, we will use a generic one, and then we can configure it as we need. You can have a custom task if you are not let's see, if you are not happy with all of the tasks that are listed here, or the pre-configured task. There is something called custom task. You can configure a task that suits your needs. Okay, so we will use the standard client task sequence. Okay, and then next, and then we will choose the OS, the operating system that we will install in the capture process. This is the Windows 10 Pro edition. We will not provide the key, okay, or the license key, and then this is the section that will be asked. For example, here this is the company or organization name. This is the home page that will be displayed in the Internet Explorer, but anyway it's not used anymore. So these are informational info. You can use it, or it will be displayed in the operating system. For example, the organization, the full name of the user or something. This setting will be used for the deployment. I think this is informative information. You will find it, I think, when you make right-click properties, okay, of this PC. You will find the organization name and some data. Okay. Anyway, so you can type any data you need here. This is the user, and then organization packer, and then you can specify the home page, but this is in the Internet Explorer. And then here we can see this is the local password that will be provided during the deployment of this task, so it is not needed as a part of the task definition. Anyway, I think this is the local administrator password that will be used to access the deployment share folder or the capture share folder, and to access the Windows, okay, or to access the operating system to install the other or to install the applications after installing the operating system. This is defined in the bootstrap.ini. We have already provided a password that will be used to log in to the machine and to install programs. I think this is the MDT dot build user. This is the Active Directory user that we have created to do this process. Okay, so anyway, tell him finish. Now we have already made the task. We need to create another task for the server and another task for the Windows 10 LTSC. So now I have forgot to import the Windows 10 LTSC, so I need to import it to the MDT capture share folder. Okay, I have already a copy of the Windows 10 LTSC ISO image, or not the ISO image, the content of the ISO image. Okay, so this is a copy of the DVD of the Windows 10 Enterprise LTSC. Is copied to a folder, and this folder is on my hard disk. So I'm copying it to my server. I'm copying this folder from my my host machine to my guest machine, and then I need to import it. So I have already created the folder for the Windows 10 LTSC. I need to go and import the operating system here. I forgot to do that before. So this is full set of source images. Now we need to point not to the DVD but to the folder. So you can uh, point to a DVD that contains the Windows 10 LTSC ISO image, or you can point to a folder. This will be, or this will do the same, or it is equivalent, or you can do that, either pointing to a DVD or pointing to a folder. Okay, now we tell him next. Now this is the name of the destination directory. Next. Now we have, or we are importing the Windows 10 LTSC operating system. Then we can begin the process of creating other tasks. Okay, so now finish. Now what, here we can see that I have already imported it to the wrong folder. I need to be imported in 2021 folder. So I am copying it and putting it in the right folder, and then we will delete this one. Okay, so we will open that. We can see here it is already copied in the correct folder. So we need to remove the old one, delete. Okay, and then next. finish. And now we can go and modify the name. This is a long name. We can just remove all of this, okay, and leave the name of the operating system. Okay, apply and okay. Now we can go and delete. This folder contains the operating system, so we can delete it because we don't need it anymore. We have already imported the operating system, so this is the source files. Okay, now you can go and complete the creating of the other tasks. I am just revising or seeing every we have every ISO image. Now we have the server, we have the LTSC, we have the Windows 10 Pro. So now we can go to the capture client and we should create another task for Windows 10 LTSC, or we can create the capture server task. Anyway, so here I forgot that I have already created this task, so I'm creating it again. Let's see what will happen. If we try to give it the same sequence task ID, we will see it will give us a warning that we have already a task with the same task ID, okay? So this is also another thing we need to focus, not to make, or it's not allowed to make two tasks with the same task ID, okay? So here I forgot that I have already created this task. We can see here that the task ID already exists, but it shows a different value. So I have already created the task. So you can see here I have opened the capture. Here I have the task already. So we can see here this is the task, and we will discuss the task sequence tab later. Okay, so now we'll create another task sequence, but for the server, or the Windows Server. So we will install Windows Server 2022 and install a couple of programs, and then we will capture an image, okay, for the Windows Server 2022. This is the task sequence ID when SRV, the abbreviation of server, 2022, STD, abbreviation of standard edition, okay. We can later change it to data center by a simple script. Anyway, so here we need to go and choose a different task, okay. Here we need to create another task or see another task. Here we need to choose the standard server task sequence. This is for the task. This is task for server task sequence. This is for the client. These are two different tasks. So we need to choose the standard server task sequence. This is very, very critical. And as we can see here, there is a lot of templates you can use. You can use sysprep and capture task sequence, standard client task sequence, standard client replace task sequence, standard client upgrade task sequence, custom task sequence, light touch OEM task sequence, standard server task sequence, standard server upgrade task sequence, post OS installation task sequence, deploy to VHD client task sequence, deploy to VHD server task sequence. We need to explain every one of these tasks. So let me do that by going to the Google Bard AI, and let's ask him a simple question. This question, as we can see here, very, very simple question to ask. Please explain the select template option in the MDT task sequence tab, okay, and illustrate the different templates and why they are used, or what are they are used for. So let's see what is the answer of Google Bard about. By the way, it didn't list all of the task sequence templates, okay, but a couple of them are already listed and explained. So let's see the answer of Google Bard.
The Select Template option in the MDT Task Sequence tab allows you to select a pre-made task sequence template to use as the starting point for your own task sequence. This can save you a lot of time and effort, as you don't have to create all of the steps in your task sequence from scratch. The following are some of the different MDT task sequence templates and what they are used for. Standard Client Task Sequence. This template is used to deploy a standard Windows operating system image to a client computer. It includes steps to format the hard drive, install the operating system, and configure the basic settings. Light Touch Installation Task Sequence. This template is used to deploy a Windows operating system image to a client computer using the Light Touch installation process. Light Touch is a lightweight installation process that can be used to deploy Windows to a large number of computers quickly and efficiently. Custom Task Sequence. This template is used to create a custom task sequence that meets the specific needs of your deployment. You can add or remove steps to the task sequence as needed. In addition to the above templates, there are also a number of third-party template providers that offer a variety of specialized task sequence templates. To select a task sequence template, simply click the Select Template button and choose the template that you want to use. You can then customize the template to meet your specific needs. Here are some examples of how you might use different task sequence templates. If you are deploying a Windows operating system image to a large number of client computers, you might use the Standard Client Task Sequence template. If you are deploying a Windows operating system image to a small number of client computers, you might use the Light Touch Installation Task Sequence template. If you need to deploy a custom Windows operating system image that includes additional software or configuration settings, you might use the Custom Task Sequence template. I hope this explanation is helpful. Please let me know if you have any other questions.
So we can see here I have already explained three tasks or three sequence tasks: the standard client task, the light touch installation task, the custom task. The difference between the light touch installation task and the standard task, both deploy a standard Windows operating system image and configure the basic setting for the operating system, formatting the hard disk and so. But the light touch, here there is some automation in the process. For example, it can format the hard disk automatically, it can provide the name of the PC automatically, it can provide the time zone, the keyboard, all of this will be done automatically. So this is why it's called light touch. There is the least amount of clicks involved during the installation process. As for the standard client task sequence, you are prompted to put some input. You need to choose the time zone, you need to choose the computer name, so all of this is done manually. As for the light touch, it is done automatically. Let's ask him a simple question. What is the difference? Because this is, I need to see if this is what I'm saying is correct. Difference between standard client task sequence and light touch installation. Okay, installation task sequence in MDT templates. So let's see what will be the answer. So here the main difference between the standard client task sequence and light touch task sequence is the method used to deploy the operating system to the client computer. Let's see what that mean, or the lights. Okay, let's see here. He is giving it a little bit of even a table, but let me see, or what does that mean? Let me see Google Bard.
The main difference between the standard client task sequence and the light touch installation task sequence in MDT templates is the method used to deploy the operating system image to the client computer. The standard client task sequence uses a network-based deployment process, which means that the client computer must be able to connect to the deployment server over the network in order to download the operating system image. The light touch installation task sequence uses a media-based deployment process, which means that the operating system image is deployed to the client computer from USB drive or other removable media. Another difference between the two task sequences is that the standard client task sequence includes steps to prepare the client computer for imaging, such as formatting the hard drive and partitioning the disk. The light touch installation task sequence does not include these steps, as they are assumed to have already been performed. The standard client task sequence is a good choice for deploying operating systems to client computers in a controlled environment, such as a corporate network. The light touch installation task sequence is a good choice for deploying operating systems to client computers in an uncontrolled environment, such as client computers that are located at remote sites. Here is a table that summarizes the key differences between the standard client task sequence and the light touch installation task sequence. Feature: standard client task sequence, light touch installation task sequence. Deployment method: network-based, media-based. Preparation steps: yes, no. Best suited for controlled environment, uncontrolled environment. Which task sequence you choose will depend on your specific needs and requirements. If you are unsure which task sequence to use, I recommend consulting with an experienced MDT administrator.
So I was not correct. The light touch installation depends, or it depends upon media like USB driver or removable media, and it will not format hard disk or something. This will not be done. Uh, as it is said here, it is not. It will not format hard disk. I think it will only deploy, or it will only install operating system directly to a ready-made PC, or the PC is already formatted and there is a hard disk and it is already partitioned. So I think this is the light touch installation process. I need to emphasize more on what is the light touch installation task sequence. Please elaborate more on the light touch installation task sequence. Okay, let's see what more data it can give us. Okay, so it is saying okay, media based. The steps: configure the client to boot from removable media, copy the operating system to the client computer, install the operating system, configure the system with the basic settings, restart the computer. So for example, you can add steps, task sequence to install specific application. Okay, this can be added. You need to create a bootable media and so on. So it can be used operating system control. It's customizable for your needs. Okay, boot from removable media, deploying computers that is already running Windows. Okay. Okay, they are configured to boot from removable media. Okay, and so on. So can use. Anyway, so not much is added here. So it is basically doing the same like the standard task or the standard client task, but here it is not. It will not format the hard disk or do a couple of things. I think there is some similarity between the standard client task and this light touch task. Okay, so they are doing the same, but there is some differences, as he said before. Maybe some like formatting the hard disk, so this should be done before. So there is some differences. Maybe light touch mean here that it will not do a lot of steps, so you need to prepare the PC before creating this task, format the hard disk, partition the hard disk. So this, I think, what does it mean. But let's again go and ask Claude AI and ask it what is the difference between this task and this task. So let's ask it this question. Okay, so he's saying here a brief uh, description. Standard client designed for bare metal deployments, install OS application drivers and configurations, include steps like pre-install, state restore, good for imaging new PCs from scratch. Okay, light touch, streamed sequence without migration process. Okay, so it will not migrate the user profiles from one PC to another. Just deploys OS and critical drivers, no user state backup or restore, meant for quick standalone OS deployment. Okay, so basically less steps, more quicker deployment. Okay, but it will not format hard disks, or this is not from scratch. You need to have a ready or a PC that is already have a hard disk installed and partitioned and formatted. Okay, in summary, standard client is a full-feature deployment sequence. Lightshot is simplified for fast OS deployments. Standard client handles user data migration. Light touch does not restore user data. So standard client is best for new PC rollouts. Okay, this is one good thing. Light touch is good for quick OS installation to disk without migrating a setting. Okay, so it seems that the only difference between them that uh, it will not do a migration. If you have a PC that you need to migrate the user data from it, it will not migrate it. So it is basically installation of the operating system, and that's it. Okay, installing it quickly with the least amount of time. Okay, but even this difference is uh, not clearly visible for me. Okay, so for example, there is no automation in the light touch. Light touch will light touch uh, task sequence doesn't contain any automated uh, steps. This is not entirely accurate. The light touch task sequence template does contain some automated steps. Here are some things it includes. Pre-install validates deployment shares and disable BitLocker. Install operating system installs out-of-the-box drivers. Prepare the OS. So while the beta streamed sequence compared to standard client, it still automates OS image application, driver installation, monitoring agent, sysprep and generalization. The main parts skips are user state migration, detailed hardware and application configuration, custom actions between steps. In summary, Touch automates the core deployment tasks, OS deployment task, but leaves out user migration and customization. It's designed for fast standalone installation, does not contain any automated steps. So I think here this is very clear, or it begins to clarify for me. So if you need to have a quick Windows operating system installation, so the light touch is your kind of thing. This PC should be prepared. It should not be from scratch. You need to have a hard disk that is partitioned and formatted, so then you can use the light touch to install the operating system. Okay, it will not migrate any old user data on this PC. So this is basically very quick installation. As for the standard client task, no, you need to, or it will format the hard disk, partition it, and if there is user data to be migrated, it will migrate it. So this is the difference between both. Okay, so this is a very good thing to say. Let's also ask the same, or let's ask another question. Can you elaborate more on the light touch task sequence? I think I have already asked Google or asked Claude about it. So we can again ask the same question. Let's see another answer. So here we can see it's giving us some detailed steps. Okay, installation. Also, this is the steps in details. Okay, so in summary, it automates OS deployment steps like driver install, image apply, sysprep, but skips customization. It is intended for fast, simple OS installation. So it will not uh, user migrate data. It will not make sysprep. It will not make capture image. This is a very simple, straight installation of OS. Okay, so this is basically what it means. So a very good answer. So let's again return to our discussion. So we have, if we go there, let me go and see or where we have stopped. Okay, so these are the tasks. Okay, but this is not all the tasks. If we go there and see, it's already discussed the standard client task sequence, the light touch, okay, and the custom. So it didn't explain the rest. So let's see if we ask Google Bard to list all of the templates, okay, and in simple terms. We can see here it already added the sysprep and capture task sequence, but then it began to give incorrect answers. Driver package creation task sequence, application creation task sequence, all of these are not there. This is uh, not there. There is the state migration task. This is already, I think it is here. No, even there is no state migration. So it already stated one correct answer, state and capture sequence, and the rest, but under sysprep and capture task sequence, this is not a correct answer. If we try to see what is sysprep and capture task sequence, this template is used to run system preparation tool and capture of an image of a reference computer. Sysprep prepares the computer for imaging by removing machine-specific information such as the computer name and security identifier. Okay, the capture image can be used to deploy Windows to other computers. The template is good choice for creating and capturing reference images. So we have now 4 task sequence templates explained, but still there is the rest, or there is other task templates or task sequence templates that are not explained. So we can go to Claude and ask it. Let's go there and ask it about uh, the other task sequence. So for example, here it has already give us a brief explanation of some of the templates. For example, what is the standard client replace task sequence? It is similar to the above. This is the standard client task sequence, similar to standard client task sequence, but first backups and restores state or user state used for OS upgrades. So this is simply, if you have, for example, I have a Windows, so this is basically used with the upgrade. So we will have a replace task and an upgrade task. This is basically used between the two. So for example, if you have a user that have or Windows 10 installed on his PC and you have a user profile on this machine, the replace task sequence will be your best choice. It will copy the user profiles, upgrade the Windows 10 to Windows 11, and then restore the user profile. This is what we can call user state. Okay, this is called user state. I will clarify what is user state. So because user state is not only the user profile, there is a lot of things actually. If we go to Google Bard and ask it what is the user state, so let me show you what is a user state. Here, if we can go and see what is the user state, is a collection of files and folders, registry setting, and other configuration data that define the environment for a user who logs on with a user account. So basically, what is a user state? When you create a user on the Windows operating system, you will have a folder created in C users. Then you will have your profile, or you have your user account. You'll have a folder by the name of your user account, and this will contain all of your specific data or personalized data, your documents, your downloads, your links, your musics, your pictures. These are the personal documents. As for your personal setting, like the background, like the screensaver, all of this, including your personal folders, are called user state data. So if you go there, we can see user state data, the collection of files, folders, registry setting, and other configuration data that define the environment for a user who logs in with a user account. This data includes user desktop background, screen resolution, start menu setting, program preferences, and personal data. All of these are called user state. And all of these are stored in C users, the location that I was talking about from a couple of minutes. So the replace task sequence, it will upgrade the operating system, and then before upgrading it, it will copy the user state and then restore it after the upgrade. Okay, so this is the client replace task sequence. Okay, what is our standard server task sequence? This is basically like the client, but install OS and configures it for a server. Okay, no user data migration. Okay, actually, because this is a server. A standard replace task sequence, the same. It will upgrade the server. Okay, copy and restore server setting. This is different. It will not copy the user state, but it will restore the server setting. This should be clarified or elaborated more. Okay, we can ask Google Bard what is client, what is the standard client tasks replace task sequence. Let me copy it and ask Google Bard, so we can see simply standard client task sequence, replace task sequence, server task sequence, replace task sequence, customization. We have already asked this before. Let's ask Google Bard about this. What is the standard client replace task sequence? Okay, what is the standard replace task sequence? MDT. Okay, MDT. Okay, template. Okay, let's see. Okay, it say the pre-made task sequence to replace an existing Windows operating system installation on a client computer with new operating system. Okay, the task sequence steps include backup user data to a safe location, format the hard disk and partition the hard disk, deploy Windows operating system, configure operating system, restore user data. Okay, so this is simply what is the client standard task sequence. So basically very simple explanation. We can go and continue. Okay, we have already asked this question before, so this is basically a good answer. So if you go there, we can see that we have already explained sysprep and capture, standard client task sequence, standard replace task sequence, standard client upgrade task sequence, custom task sequence, light touch, server task sequence, upgrade server task sequence. We need to explain post OS installation task sequence, deploy to the VHD client task sequence, deploy to the VHD server task sequence. So we can continue and see other things. We have already explained this standard client task sequence. We have already upgrade task sequence. We have said this before. So let's go and continue the other explanation. Let's go and ask Google Bard what is post OS task sequence in simple terms. Let's see here.
A post-OS installation task sequence is a task sequence that is used to perform tasks after the operating system has been installed on a computer. These tasks can include installing applications, configuring settings, migrating user state data, applying updates. Post-OS installation task sequences are typically used to deploy and configure computers for a specific purpose, such as using them as workstations, servers, or kiosks. Here are some examples of tasks that might be performed in a post-OS installation task sequence: installing the Microsoft Office suite, joining the computer to a domain, configuring the computer's firewall, installing security updates, migrating user state data from an old computer, configuring the computer's desktop background and start menu. Post-OS installation task sequences can be created using a variety of tools, including Microsoft Deployment Toolkit, MDT, and System Center Configuration Manager. To use a post-OS installation task sequence, you would typically boot the computer from MDT boot media or from a network location. The task sequence would then run and perform the tasks that you have configured. Post-OS installation task sequences can be a very useful way to deploy and configure computers in a consistent and efficient manner. Here are some benefits of using post-OS installation task sequences. They can save time and effort by automating the deployment and configuration process. They can help to ensure that computers are configured correctly and that all of the necessary software is installed. They can be used to deploy custom configurations to computers. They can be used to migrate user state data to new computers. If you are deploying or configuring a large number of computers, I recommend using post-OS installation task sequences. They can help you to save time and effort, and to ensure that your computers are configured correctly.
So you can see this task is after the installation of Windows 10. So if you need to join a large number of PCs to the domain, this can be done using the post-OS task sequence. You need to configure computer firewall to a large number of PCs. This is your task. To install security updates, this also can be your task. Migrating user state data from old computer, this can be your task. So this is a task after installing of the operating system. This is what is the post-OS installation task. Okay, let's go and see what Claude had to say about it. The post-OS installation task is used to perform additional configuration after deploying the core OS operating system. This is a simple explanation of what does it do. Apply device drivers, install drivers for the computer hardware, install software updates, install applications like Office, okay, Windows updates, packages like Windows featured packages, configure network, join domain, set host name, configure networking, restore user data, okay, restore files and setting from backup, finalize OS, does final step like sysprep to prepare OS. This if you are capturing, but this is not always the case, okay. So in summary, this task sequence installed specific drivers to PC models, update Windows, install user application, configure networking, restore user data, prepare the OS for the first use. So this is basically, or this is another answer, and a very good answer actually. So we can see we have different AI tools that give different answers, or they complete each other. Okay, so this is what is the post OS installation task. If we go to Google Bard and ask it about the upcoming task, which is deploy to VHD client task sequence, if we go there, let's ask it about what is the VHD. We can see here, let's see the answer. It's very simple. This is related to virtual machines. Let's see the answer.
The deploy to VHD client task sequence is a pre-made task sequence template that can be used to deploy a client operating system image to a virtual hard disk, VHD, file. This can be useful for creating reference images, testing new operating system deployments, or deploying operating systems to virtual machines. The deploy to VHD client task sequence includes steps to create a new VHD file, format and partition the VHD file, deploy the operating system image to the VHD file, configure the operating system, resize the VHD file to fit the operating system. To use the deploy to VHD client task sequence, simply create a new task sequence in MDT and select the deploy to VHD client task sequence template. You can then customize the task sequence to meet your specific needs. Here are some examples of how you might customize the deploy to VHD client task sequence. You can choose to create a fixed size VHD file or a dynamic VHD file. You can specify the size of the VHD file. You can choose the operating system image that you want to deploy to the VHD file. You can add steps to the task sequence to install additional software or to configure specific settings. Once you have customized the deploy to VHD client task sequence, you can use it to deploy a client operating system image to a VHD file by booting the client computer from MDT boot media or by running the task sequence from a network location. Here are some benefits of using the deploy to VHD client task sequence. It can be used to create reference images. It can be used to test new operating system deployments. It can be used to deploy operating systems to virtual machines. If you need to deploy a client operating system image to a VHD file, I recommend using the Deploy to VHD Client task sequence. It is a simple and straightforward way to deploy operating systems to VHD files.
So this is basically what is the VHD, okay, or deploy to VHD. Another answer here, I asked if I can attach a VHD to a VMware virtual machine, so it gave me an answer that I can do that. So let's see the answer of Google Bard.
Yes, you can attach a VHD file to a VMware virtual machine. There are two ways to do this. 1. Using the VMware vSphere client. 1. Open the VMware vSphere client and connect to the vCenter server or SSH host where your virtual machine is located. 2. Right-click on the virtual machine and select Edit Settings. 3. Click on the Add Hardware button and select Hard Disk. 4. Select Use an existing virtual disk and click Next. 5. Browse to the VHD file and click Open. 6. Click Finish to add the VHD file to the virtual machine. 2. Using the VMware Workstation Pro. 1. Open VMware Workstation Pro and select the virtual machine that you want to attach the VHD file to. 2. Click on the VM menu and select Settings. 3. Click on the Hardware tab. 4. Click on the Add Device button and select Hard Disk. 5. Select Use an existing virtual disk and click Next. 6. Browse to the VHD file and click Open. 7. Click Finish to add the VHD file to the virtual machine. Once you have attached the VHD file to the virtual machine, you can boot up the virtual machine and access the VHD file like any other hard disk drive. Please note, if the VHD file is formatted for a different operating system than the guest operating system of the virtual machine, you may need to convert the VHD file to a VMDK file before you can attach it to the virtual machine. You can use the VMware Converter tool to convert VHD files to VMDK files.
Okay, so this is the VHD task sequence for the client and for the server. So we have all of these templates explained. If we go to Claude and see what is the answer or what I can attach a VHD to a VM virtual machine, this is also by positive we can do that. So this is basically all of the tasks. If we go there, if we go and see, let's go and see. So here we can see these are all explained. Okay, this all of the templates we can use, and all of them, as we can see, there is a lot of scenarios that we can make MDT apply. So we will choose the server standard. Okay, server standard task sequence. We will go there and we'll tell him next, and I will choose the OS, okay, Windows Server. Next, and then we will not add a serial, and then we will do the same. We will put user or something. Next, there is no local admin password, and then next, and then next. Okay, and then confirm. So we can see here is the task. We have done this task, the client task, and the server task. We need to create the last one, which is the Windows 10 LTSC task. Okay, this should be done, or this is not listed by Daniel Brother. This is one of my creation or my own. So I need to install or make a task sequence Win abbreviation for Windows LTSC Lite, or this is for long-term I think semi-channel or something, and EN abbreviation for Enterprise 2021 for the year, Windows 10 Enterprise LTSC. Next, and this is the standard client task sequence. Then next, and then we will choose the operating system. Okay, and we will choose this one. Okay, and then next, then we will not add a product key, the same user, and next there is no local admin password, then next, then we have our task created. We will begin now working with the task sequence. We'll begin explaining the task sequence. Okay, if we go there and open to client and then Windows 10 Pro, okay, and we will open it and task sequence. Okay, we will stop here at minute 7:17. We can see these are the task steps. We will explain one by one. We will explain the three ones, or the initialization, validation, state capture, uh, pre-install, install, post-install. So we will do all of this. We will explain all of these things, okay, in the upcoming video, because we have already passed 1 hour. Okay, so we will stop there and we will continue working with these we'll explain all of these things in the upcoming video. Okay, we'll explain these tasks. Okay, I think okay, I think we have already uh, or I think let's continue. Okay, let me give it a little brief. Okay, we will stop here at this thing and explain it. These are the steps for every task: initialization, validation, state capture, pre-install, install, post-install, state restore. Okay, so these are the typical steps for any task. We need to focus on pre-install, install, and post-install. Pre-install, this before installing the operating system. Install, it is installing the operating system. Post-install, after installing the operating system. State restore, this is related to the user. Okay, as for uh, these three steps, we can ask, or we can go to Google Bard and we can ask it about these steps. Okay, the post install, install, and post install. I think I will stop at this moment, guys, and then in the upcoming video I will continue working. But remember, we need to explain all of these things. We will stop at minute 17:17. Hope this video informative for you all, and thank you all for viewing. Thank you so much.